Hello and welcome to the RZNGMEN Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. Super Tuesdays right here on WKBY 1080 AM out of Chatham, Virginia, and also on the RZNGMENShow.com, and also happy to be a part of the Remnant Media family of products. That's RMNT.media. Coming back to part 2 of our story. It's really awesome to be able to hear a look and other people's perspective of the last 8 years of our lives, of my life in particular. I've been the only one living it on my side of the fence and for so long, and now being able to hear my sons talk about where we've been and where they think we've been and where they've been. It's just an awesome thing. Listening to each one of us fill in the blanks for the other, hearing how the other perceived things and read into things and how things looked. It's been a long time. Shouldn't have left you. How? Without a strong rhyme to step 2, as that song says. But we're going to go right into week 2. We're going to pick it up right here, and then we're going to cut it off, and we're going to continue to do this thing exactly the way the Lord wants us.
Because I think at that point, I subconsciously realized, oh, I have to be the older sibling now.
Right.
And so I was like, hyper-focused, make sure everyone's in line so we don't get lost.
Yeah.
And I already didn't want to lose anyone else. I was like, stay close to where I can see you.
Right.
So I just became hyper-focused on that. At least I remember that was my main focus walking through the airport.
Yeah.
And really anywhere we were going.
Yeah.
So that I could have eyes on everyone.
That was my trauma, because I knew dropping him off was like, my body took it as like I'm burying him and leaving him here. I was like, how can I do that? It felt like a terrible parent. Because there was a point where Shane got accepted into Ohio State and UC Riverside.
I thought he accepted into like 3 of them.
He got denied from UCLA.
No, denied from UCLA. But to your point, yes, he got into several colleges that he applied to. But of the ones he really, really wanted to go to, Ohio State was the primary one. UCR, he got in, but he didn't want to go there. Mm-hmm. And actually it was after Mom passed, he come to me, because we had already decided before Mom had passed that he was going to go to Ohio State, because we got the information, he got the scholarship money around the same time, so we knew we had a smaller financial commitment. But after she passed, he came to me, he's like, Dad, I'm not going to Ohio State. I'm going to stay home and help you with my brothers. And I was like, no, you're not. I said, and he was like, I could tell in this, he was like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm not going to stay home and help you? I'm going to stay home. You need help. You're not going to be able to do this by yourself. And I told him, I don't want that to happen to you. I said, because the worst thing that can happen now is that you get to be later in life and you go back and say, my mom died. I didn't get a chance to go to college like I wanted to. I had to stay and help my brothers, help my dad raise my brothers. And then your life you're full of that regret, and you'll eventually resent one or more of us for you not being able to have the college experience of your dreams. And so I told him, your mom and I were committed to you and all of y'all having that life if that's what you wanted. And so I told him, no, I don't need no help. So I pulled the line from Tina Turner movie. I was like, no, I'll be okay. If this is the lot in life that I've got to do that. So you're going to go to Ohio State. You're going to go and you're going to have a good time, and we'll be fine. It'll be tough, but it'll be what it's going to be, right? And so it didn't sit well with him for a bit. I could tell he was not happy, but I think he was relieved, but just not happy. You know what I'm saying?
Not having to feel like he's sacrificing something. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But I never wanted him to feel like he was unwanted. Mm-hmm. When we had that meeting before we came to the house, and I needed to make sure I had that meeting too, before with just him, because that was going to be a different conversation, because he didn't know I was coming from the hospital to meet him, to tell him that, oh, by the way, the hospital said your mom's never coming home. Mm-hmm. And we're not sure how much time she's got, but it ain't much. Mm-hmm. And let him have all the time he needed to process before we came home. Because you guys being younger and more of you, there was going to be a different need. Not to say that it was any greater or less, but there was going to be a different need. And so, you talking about ugly crying? Yeah, I saw that from him. And I don't think I'll ever forget the one thing he asked me after we, hugged, and he got him, he took the moment to compose himself. He asked me, says, "Will you still be my dad?" I was like, "Well, yeah." I said, "None of that changes. Our relationship just gets that much stronger because, we've got to pull together. Period. We've got to. We don't have any choice." So when we walk through that piece, but imagine where he was with that, where to him, it's almost, I don't want to say cheaper, you know what I'm saying? Because you all had the four of you all, because it looked like we were the four, right? Because you can easily say what the four of us was us, right? And to him, I didn't ever want him to feel like he was less and not a part, because he was really not legally my son, but I've had him in my life since he was 6, 5, technically when we were dating and planning to get married, 6 shortly after we got married. He just turned 6 before we got married. He turned 6 in February. We got married that September. So it was really, really important to me that he understood that he had just as much of a viable place in your guys' life and in our family as he did before Mom passed and she did after she passed. So that's why we had that meeting prior. And Brandon was there, Marsha was there, my dad was there, your Uncle Ken was there. It was just the men of our family there at that moment. And we needed to handle that piece of housekeeping first. And so when we came to the house to have that meeting with you guys, I had found that for me, I prefer to be a non-confrontational dude, but when it's time to have a conversation and to sit down and to go off and become uncorked or whatever, I can say anything to anybody now. I can have any conflict, because even right now, you guys know I've had this couple of conflicts with a couple people, whether it be siblings or friends or whatever, decide to do whatever, lose their freaking doggone minds. I've chosen my words at some point, right? Because there's nothing that I've had to do at this point that tops having to tell my 5 sons that their mom's never coming home again. I could tell anybody anything now. You know what I'm saying? But to sit down and have to look in Shane's eyes and tell him his mom's never coming home and let him process that. And then drive home and try to explain to you all that your mom was never coming home again. And I don't think you guys really got it until I heard Jackson scream. So when you guys talk about that meeting, the parts that my view on that, and you guys, you thought we were going to hear good news. And I'll never forget the sounds. Like I still remember sitting in that downstairs room with the people all around. And Jackson was sitting on somebody's lap. And I'd mentioned she was not coming home again. And it clicked for him at 4. And all I heard was this wailing cry. And I think then you started, or Evan started. And then the room started to cry because you all were, but everybody else, and that was the kind of the sick joke, really. Everybody that come to the house, everybody else already knew.
It was more, they had time to deal with it, and they have to watch us deal with it now. Or watch us process it, that.
Yes and no, because you're yes and you're no. And I say no only because...
Not like deal with it, it's like, okay, well now I don't have anything to deal with it. It's like they've had a second for it to sit with them.
Right. And they really were trying to put up a front, because had they come in and just started being broken and all over the place,
we
right,
would have been, because
we
don't know any other better. It's like,
well, right, and then all of a sudden it would have been a tip off. Wait a minute, what's going on, right? They had to try to hold it together until I got there. You know what I'm saying? And try to be strong and hold you all and hold the family together, right? So, and that's why I'm enjoying the fact that we can have these conversations, because everyone's perspective of where we've been is different. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when you had gone upstairs, Ryan, and somebody went up behind you just to kind of make sure you were okay. And you said you kind of slept for hours or whatever. It felt like a couple hours, then you came back and everybody was gone. That became, for me, it was the first step of me really becoming hyper focused on you guys. And I'll share this piece with you now. I won't, like I said, I don't plan to monopolize the time, but when Mom got sick initially in March, and I went to the doctor's office to hear the diagnosis that she had cancer, she was sad. Yes, don't get me wrong. Okay. I was probably more in shock. Kasha was there with her too. And your mom and I really weren't getting along well then. She was the doctor's office bar. With Kasha, I was not there. Kasha calls me, hey, can you come to the doctor's office? The doctor wants to give us some news about Stanley's medical condition. Oh, okay, sure. I came down there and he's like, Mr. Carlisle, you know, your wife's got cancer, but if I had to pick a cancer to have, she's got that cancer. That's the one to have. High mortality, means high, survivability. You just have to kind of get used to going on vacation around places where you can go to a big hospital, just in case something happened. I was like, okay, that's weird. So when I'm listening to him talk, in this ear, right here, I'm hearing the Lord tell me, she's going to die from this. So from March of 2012, I began the grieving process. So I had 11 months to grieve. When nobody knew, I would have those moments when I would have to excuse myself and go sit in the room or go sit away from you guys because I was broken, because I knew the punchline. But Mom would always tell people, oh no, I believe the Lord has told me that this is not unto death. I don't know if you guys remember that, Stacey, always me. Not unto death, not unto death, not unto death, right? And so I heard that from her, and I never told her what I knew. Mm-hmm. So I stood with her. We would pray and we would ask the Lord for more and healing and stuff. But I already knew. And truly, it wasn't unto death, because when you die, we move from life to life, right? So I already knew what the punchline was going to be. So I was able to prepare, right? But it was a tough thing to always stand and look at your guys' faces going, we have no idea what's in front of us right now. So when the time came to shift and I had to come and have this talk, everything has been one nonstop turn after another turn after another turn. So when you guys talk about going back to school, and you guys remember those couple of weeks, all I remember is I tried to tell this speech when I finally kind of managed to kind of muster enough to say, okay, guys, I had you guys come in the room upstairs, in my bedroom, and it's like, okay, guys, no matter what, we're going to live. We can do this. We're Team Carlisle, right? We will make it work. Tim Gunn. That was my favorite line from, it was the Project Runway. Yeah. And that's all that I knew from a coach standpoint. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get up. We're going to shower. We're going to brush our teeth. We're going to do it. We can do this. I didn't have a clue how we were going to do it, But that's all I knew to try to do, was try to coach our way out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because knowing that when you guys would go to school, I was still off from work on bereavement. And I would stand in the window and I would watch you guys walk, or however you guys were going to school, and I would watch. And I would probably stand there. When it came close to you guys coming home, I would stand back in the window again. I would have my phone like everywhere I go, because I'm waiting for the school to call. Because it was time when you guys didn't want to stay all day. And you guys haven't told the days when you guys would come home. Because Katie, you told the story about how you knew I wasn't coming to pick you up.
Because there would be a few times where I would just go to the nurse house. Like, I literally wouldn't want to there'd be days where I would maybe feel sick, just like to my stomach, because of the newfound anxiety or whatever stress.
Yeah.
And then there'd be days I'd be fine, but it's like I don't want to be here.
But the interesting thing about it, you guys have left out the days when I had to come pick you up. Because that, just for those reasons. He's crying a lot. We need to send. He won't stay. You wouldn't stay in class. And so when you picked up on that part where you knew I wasn't coming, and you know Shane wasn't coming, those were the days when it was 6, 8, 9 months later, when I was like, look, guys, we got to stay in class. I cannot continue to come and get you. You've got to stay there. So it became those moments where the stake was in the ground, because we had to try to put it together. Sucking as it did, we had to put it together. And trust me, it wasn't like I wanted to. I didn't have any choice. Because truancy, the T word you were looking for, that was becoming an issue. Because school only allows you to have so much bereavement time, right? Before you start becoming truant. And that was a thing. So yeah, it was, and I would wait for the school to call, and I would wonder who would need me, and I would not want to be far from you guys because I'm waiting for somebody to call me. I'm waiting for somebody to say they needed something. When I would go to the stores, right, to get our groceries, when Shane was in, we would all mostly go together. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you guys remember going to the stores. I was always traumatized going to the supermarket. Because I had a 4-year-old. Jackson he was walking, yeah, but he's a 4-year-old. Mm-hmm. And then 6, 7, or 6, 8, and 9? At that point, everybody was turning ages, right? So you were, 7 turning 8, 6 turning 7, whatever. So it became, okay, I got to make sure everybody, because you guys were kids. You might pick this stuff up and let's go play that. And you could eat, you were kids.
Thinking about Lunchables and chips.
Lunchables and chips, and walking through the store and want to touch things, and
jumping on the squares,
literally
finding anything to entertain us because we're at the supermarket. We're not supposed to touch anything,
right? And it became, can I get through the store and make it back to the house in one, without losing anybody, and without losing it in the store, meaning me? Mm-hmm. That became a thing. So that's why. So to me, and I tell my side of us from a parent view, that was big to have made it to the store, and we finally got to the point where, even before Shane went to college, when I would go to the stores, do you guys remember when I would leave the house?
Not a whole lot. I remember when we were talking earlier, you said we would call you a lot, but I don't remember a whole lot about calling you.
Calls, text messages. I would get to the store, I'd pull up. Well, if I was able to go somewhere by myself, it was, you making the store yet? How long are you going to be? You coming home? You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Okay, just making sure. Call us when you're on your way. And that went on for almost 3 years, at least.
I think it's coming back to me now. I remember Evan would ask me a lot, when's Dad coming back? Mm-hmm. Or where's Dad? Or I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll call him real quick and ask him. And I'm sure he'll be back soon. He's just going to the store.
Yeah. That kind of calling you and checking where you are and all that kinds of stuff. It's, to me, that's even now I still have those, because I constantly think, what would happen if Dad left? And it's just really hard to think about, because if you were gone, we wouldn't know what else we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
We're gonna shut your mic off real quick. No, I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you.
But the truth is, we teach this, right? We have to learn what is next, how to feed yourselves, right? How to cook, how to clean. That's why when you I taught Shane how to iron early, well before Mom was sick. Just taught him how to iron. Then each one of you all had to teach each other how to iron. Shane taught you. You taught Ryan. Ryan taught Evan, and so on. Because we had to learn how to wash. We had to learn how to clean. We had to learn to pick up our trash. You know what I'm saying? We had to, because I couldn't do it by myself for that reason. But I couldn't go all around and tell you guys, oh, well, I'm not going to always be around, because we already dealt. We're dealing with that. Mm-hmm. But it was for that reason. And granted, yeah, if something were to happen to me at this moment before the end of the recording, there would be an issue, right? Because we don't have a process in place, right? We have some people that we believe that would try to step in. It would be an interesting steppage.
Legally, wouldn't it be, since Mom and Gita are godparents, they would take custody?
There's no legal precedence for that.
Really?
No, you can say, because you were deemed godparents, because some of you have godparents that I wouldn't want 50 feet from you. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want 10 feet from you, to be on the for real. And I say it tongue in cheek and being flippant right now. I would come back from my grave if some of these people who are your godparents even stepped up and tried to step up, because they don't step up now. Mm-hmm. I would want, there's people, unfortunately, that were around you all then who are not around us now, who need to not be around us because they're toxic to us. Mm-hmm. That's why they're not here. Okay. Now, granted, now people can change. I get it. And everybody needs to be given their opportunity to change. But until they make that change known, I don't want them anywhere around us. Okay. Just to make sure we're real clear on that. But if something were to happen to me, that would be a matter for the courts to decide. For those of you who are under 18, who would have the best, solution for you all to stay with. And that would be something that the courts would decide. But we're not even going to speak that into existence. But in no matter what happens to me, old or young, whatever, the Lord's going to have you all taken care of regardless, right? You wouldn't be living under a bridge. You still have your Social Security. I have a life insurance policy that will pay out until I think I'm 65. If I die before 65, it kicks out pretty well. You guys will be taken care of financially, right? Even in Lord willing allows me to live beyond 65, we'll redo the policy so it extends to the rest of my life, right? But still, the framework is something we talk about legacy building. Raising men is something we talk about legacy building. These are the things that you all will be able to build and put in place to be able to continue to make revenue and make a difference in the world, whether or not I'm here or not. And then as you all get older, whether you all are here or not, and so on and so on. Those are some of the reasons why Raising Men and the framework is so important. The Remnant Media as a network. And I'm not saying that I'm compelling you all to do these things and you don't want to do them. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying that you have a means to do things and the Lord continues to bless them to make revenue for you that would allow you to extend the things that you really would want to do. Mm. So I'm not saying that this has become this ball and chain for you, but my whole premise with setting this stuff up is in advance of something happening to me. Well, yes, we are helping the world have an impact and hear our story, yes, but at the same time, you all can have a choice of continuing to make a difference in the world or choosing not to. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I'm going to be passive aggressive saying, oh, you have to work the family business. Well, no. If you look at a lot of cultures and societies, a lot of groups, do that with their families. Mm-hmm. You work the family business until you don't work the family business. Some of them are miserable doing it. But
it's like where kind of that's kind of where parent resentment comes from for some people, because they're forced to do something they've hated for their entire life, and then the moment they turn 18 or the moment they're able to make it really clicks in their head. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I hate you. I can't do anything for you anymore. Yeah. And they just completely take their parent out of their life.
Yeah. It's been a long time just sitting around thinking about this study, and I'm very glad as a family that we're able to share this and bring everyone to where we are. And I know when you do public things, or you're just, have radio shows and you have a platform, you're supposed to do things in a lot of cases to help others. But sometimes you have to be selfish. Sometimes you have to do things to help yourself, because you can't really help anyone else until you help yourself. You can't become, I can't say to the next level. You can't be, an elevator is not the right word to look for. You can't be whole until you get healed. And this is a healing process for us on our way to wholeness. And it's a healing process to help us understand that we are whole. And until we speak through our issues and get a better understanding as to what we've been through, and realize that we can look back over our life, not from a sorrow-filled perspective and an aching in our belly perspective, but we can look back over our life and realize that, when I've been at my most downtrodden, the Lord has been there for us. And Psalms 138:7 makes more sense when you look back over your life. As though I walk in the midst of trouble, you will revive me. You will stretch out your hand against the wrath of our enemies, and your right hand will save me. John 14:1 makes more sense when you can look back over your life and understand that the Lord brought you from discouragement, where it says, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Even John 14:27, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And we've been through a lot of times of being afraid in our lives, and you know what? There's no need for that anymore. Because all we have to do is use the memory to go back and say, Lord, you brought us out of this, that, and the other. You're surely going to bring us out of this, that, and then some too, because what's coming is not any worse than what's already been behind us. And even if this is something that could be materially worse in front of us than what's been behind us, we've already got the trust and assurance that God has brought us through that. Surely he's going to bring us through the next thing as well. So remember, if nothing else that you can take away from our story is a message of hope, that if the Lord's done it for you once, won't he do it for you again? This is Craig Carlisle, and this has been my family telling our story right here on the RZNGMEN Show. Look forward to seeing you all next week right here.